Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin. Joining me today is Cody Leach. What's up, man?
Dude, there is hope. There is hope.
There is hope.
Hope has returned.
There is hope. Yes.
That's what's up.
Well, you probably clicked on this video because the title is State of the DCEU Update. Like, Cody and I did a State of the DCEU just a little bit back, and I think where we left our last State of the DCEU, Cody, was a place of worry and fear and dread. Would you do us the honors of summing up that last State of the DCEU video that we did?
The state of the DCEU in our last video was the state of Metropolis at the end of Man of Steel.
We could have built a new Krypton in this squalor.
The way that me and Durbin pretty much agreed about the state of the DCEU, we both are very, very big fans of Man of Steel. I know the movie's subjective, but we love it, so accept it. Batman v Superman, especially the theatrical cut, we thought was a gigantic mess. The Ultimate Cut definitely improved it, but some of the glaring issues like Lex Luthor, some of the story issues, kind of shoehorning things in to try to fast forward the universe, will never be fixed regardless what cut of the film comes out. Suicide Squad, we both enjoyed, and now that some time has passed, I can at least say this, that for some reason, every single time I watch Suicide Squad, it seems like I like it less. Is that the same way for you?
I never fully liked it to start with, and then every time I watch it, I like it less still.
Yeah, okay. So Suicide Squad...
Then I watched their unedited cut, and that was worse.
Yeah, and I agreed. That was another thing that we agreed on, was the things that they added back in kind of made more problems. So the state of the DCEU, the last time that me and Durbin left it, was what is going on? Is Wonder Woman going to be good? Is Justice League going to be good? Are these movies going to tank? Is the DCEU going to continue on past the year 2017? What is going on? And then there was all this news coming out about, we're doing 2 Shazam movies, and we're going to do this movie, and we're going to do we're throwing all these movies out there. You're like, Oprah, you get a movie, you get a movie. And none of the movies that were already in production, like The Flash, like Aquaman, all these other movies that we've already been promised for 3 or 4 or 5 years, there was no news whatsoever on that. And then we get all the drama with Ben Affleck and the Batman, and the director changes, and is he going to stay on as Batman? Is he not going to stay on as Batman? All this drama. So you summed it up perfectly. Worry and despair was the state of the DCEU, 5-6 months ago, however long ago we did that video. And now we have a movie that came out called Wonder Woman, and I will carry it over to you, Durbin.
Yes. It's really funny because in our Facebook chats with Sean Chandler and Tyler Tompkins and Jeff, like as we were all going back and forth in our conversation, like what we can't believe is how many times they just keep announcing movies. Like the movies they bring out aren't that good, but then they keep announcing more. Like, no, we're going to fix it. Trust us. And then Suicide Squad comes out and we're all like, well, that's not fixed. What are you doing? So like, I feel like we had good reason to dread. But, as you just said and tossed it over to me with Wonder Woman, I feel like, and you said this yesterday in your conversation with me on Facebook, we now have a radical shift in tone. And Wonder Woman was awesome. It was, just plain and simply put, it was awesome. I mean, what did you think of Wonder Woman?
My overall thoughts of Wonder Woman is that it's not only... I need to watch Man of Steel one more time before I say if it's the best of the DCEU or not. It's very close. It's going to be a tight race. But not only is it competing for the best of the DCEU movies very easily, but it's competing for top comic book movies ever made for me. Like, it's an origin story, and it's very hard to make an origin story stand out amongst all the great movies that we've gotten, like the Captain America films, like The Dark Knight, like Logan that we got just a couple of months ago. Wonder Woman, to me, hit every beat that it needed to beat. It gave you levity, it gave you hope, it gave you things that we have not seen in the DCEU so far. We've seen darkness, we've seen death, we've seen somber, we've seen destruction, and Wonder Woman comes in, and aside from a really, really tasteful small connection that they show involving Wayne Enterprises in the very beginning and the very tail end of this movie, which I thought they did perfectly, it's its own movie. It's not worried about setting up new universes. It's not worried about setting up Justice League. It's not worried about what are we going to do in Wonder Woman 2. It wants to introduce you to Diana Prince, the world of Themyscira. It wants to introduce you into her seeking hope and seeking kind of looking through the flaws of humanity to find what you need to fight for humanity for. And all of these things, it brought a smile to my face the entire time I was watching the movie. I thought that Gal Gadot was incredible. I was one of the people who was very nervous about her. I was like, okay, she looks good. She did pretty good in the small little sections she had in BVS. I don't know if she's going to be able to do it or not. We always heard everybody say that, we saw a little spark in her when we gave her casting decision, so we decided to go with her and give her a chance. And I saw the spark. From the time the movie started, all the way through, especially with her back and forth with Chris Pine.
I was brought to life by Zeus.
Well, that's neat.
Which was one of the best romantic interest relationships I've seen in a comic book movie. I just loved her. I fell in love with her in the runtime of this movie. I fell in love with her as a warrior. I fell in love with her as this person that just wants to help innocent, and she wants to go and put her life on the line to help people who are being wronged all the time, no matter what. And that's something that we need, because they didn't really give us that side of Superman yet. She's kind of filling in that void that we didn't get for Superman. She's the symbol of hope. And I'll kick it over to you in just a second. I actually really am interested in what's going to happen with her relationship with Bruce Wayne now, because Bruce Wayne needs somebody like that. The Bruce Wayne that we have has no hope. He has no view of humanity. He has no hope for what can come for fighting for people. He just kind of has his own agenda. He wipes people out left and right. And Diana Prince is that symbol for hope that he did not get from Superman.
Ah, man, you hit the nail on the head. I said that in my spoiler-free when I went live on Thursday night when I saw the movie, and I said it again in my spoiler talk, so you know what? It's worth repeating now. My favorite scene in Wonder Woman, maybe spoilers, but maybe not. She comes out of the trenches like in that trailer, slow motion, uses her bracelet, knocks the bullets, but what was so great about that scene was not just the visuals or anything like that, but it was when the camera zoomed in on the soldiers' faces and they had hope because of what she did. She was inspirational and she brought inspiration to the troops. They were weak and they were brought down. What she did took the burden off their shoulders and gave them strength again. And I said this in my other reviews, that's what Superman needs to be, because that's who Superman is. Superman is the character that brings that inspiration. I don't mind what they did with him in Man of Steel. He's growing up. He's trying to find his place in the world. Where I began to mind it was Batman vs. Superman, where he should have loved being Superman. And in his love of saving the world and seeing the best in humanity, that should have been inspiring more hope than it did anything else. And so, we didn't even get that till the end when he decided to lay his life down fighting Doomsday. So, you're right, Wonder Woman fills that gap, and it's another reason that I really loved that movie. I think the other reason I loved Wonder Woman, and this gave me hope for DC, we kept talking about how, for instance, Suicide Squad tried to overcorrect for the mistakes for Batman vs. Superman. Like, everybody complained BVS was too dark and dank and blah, blah, blah. So what did they do in Suicide Squad, the movie that was supposed to be dark and dank and blah, blah, blah? They overcorrected that thing to make it as light and funny as they could. And so I think where our biggest concern was is DC, Warner Brothers, they're not understanding the criticisms.
Yeah.
And so they keep messing things up worse. Then we get to Wonder Woman, and like you were just saying, it's a focused, concentrated story. It's not worried about the future. It's not worried about setting something else up. It's telling a story, and it's telling a great story about this character. That's the same thing Man of Steel did. Man of Steel was not worried about what was to come. It told the story of this young man named Clark Kent finding his place in the world and becoming Superman. So I think we need more of that, and it gives me hope for Justice League, that hopefully Justice League won't be a big old mess like Suicide Squad, that hopefully Justice League will be telling the story of this team. And if they could do that instead of, set up all the stuff that's coming in the future, that would be great.
Yes. Now that we're moving kind of in, we're still talking about Wonder Woman, but we're kind of talking about, what's to come in the future. I don't know if my optimism for Justice League has been raised so much, because that movie was already kind of in production when Batman v Superman was just starting to get really hammered in the on ratings and everything like that. So I don't know how much damage control they got to do with that movie. I'm still very much looking forward to it. But what Wonder Woman really gives me hope for is everything after Justice League, like Aquaman, The Flash, the Batgirl movie that we're hearing Joss Whedon's going to do. Eventually,
Joss Whedon, man. Yeah. I mean, how's that going to be bad? Joss Whedon.
Yeah, the Batman, whenever that decides to get in front of the camera. Nightwing, maybe even Shazam, however many 4 or 5 Shazam movies they're planning on doing. all of these little singular stories now I have so much more hope for, because we've already loved Man of Steel, both of us, so that's the one so far. Before this past weekend, that was the one singular story that we've gotten before all the team-up mashup movies. And now we get the next one with Wonder Woman, which is possibly even better. Again, not sure yet.
It's hard because I'm biased towards Superman because he's my favorite hero,
Yes.
but holy cow, as a film, man, I was engrossed in Wonder Woman. But go on.
So it gives me hope for these individual directors, these individual storytellers being able to bring all of these individual heroes to the screen and tell their stories. I'm still a little bit worried about Justice League just because it's one of those fool me once, fool you twice kind of things. So I'm still pulling for it. I hope to God the movie just owns when it comes out, and then it's going to be, we're going to be doing another video. We're just going to be going in front of the camera like, yes! But yeah, it just really gives me hope, because not only does it really tell a great singular story, but it tells me that the DC and or DCEU and WB is capable of hiring a director, hiring a storyteller, and letting them tell their story. Because that was the main thing that we were all getting worried about with all of this stuff surrounding the Batman, especially with the back and forth with Ben Affleck. It always seemed like they were trying to invade his movie and tell him what to do, and there was all this argument back and forth. And maybe that is still the case, but whenever you watch Wonder Woman, you see them hiring Patty Jenkins, hiring Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, everybody else in the great cast, the story writer, and going off and making a Wonder Woman movie. And that gives me a lot of hope for what James Wan is going to bring to Aquaman, for whoever they hire to do The Flash, for all of those singular stories going forward. And that's a huge, important piece, because you can't have a mashup movie if nobody cares about them when they had their own singular movie. So
I agree with that. It's funny because it's like Aquaman, until Justice League Throne of Atlantis, the animated movie, and until they release some of the pictures of, the Thraki dude decked out as Aquaman, was always my least favorite. And now he's the one I'm the most curious about and the most excited about seeing on the big screen. And so, I'm curious. And Aquaman 2018, the only movie that has had none of the drama the other ones have had attached to it. Which,
yeah, none so far.
Yeah, which is so interesting to me that it hasn't had that drama. But I think the other thing that Wonder Woman did for me is it reframed some of the drama in DCEU. Because, it looks bad when it says the Batman has no script, they're rewriting it for the 12th time. It looks bad when you go to The Flash and you're like, well, they've given up on that one. Page 1 rewrite. Here we go again. And you can't help have it but look bad when you have story after story after story after story of this leaking, and it's just terrible. After seeing Wonder Woman and seeing all the care that they took to tell this story about Wonder Woman, it reframes some of those articles we'd been reading about WB for me, that maybe when they were writing that individual Wonder Woman movie, or as they were directing it, they learned a thing or two, and they're like, you know what? Perhaps if we just go back and do a page 1 rewrite, we can up the quality to where this is. And so that it reframes all that stuff that made us nervous for me, so that now, instead of looking at it negatively, I'm looking at it hopeful, okay, so maybe they caught on to something, and they're doing these page 1 rewrites, and they're throwing out old scripts because they learned from Suicide Squad, they learned from the Batman vs. Superman theatrical cut, they learned from these things, and now they're trying to set up something as good or maybe better than Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that was one of the things that was always such a hard thing to battle as a DC fan, is that you read those stories, and mostly because, like you were saying, because it was day after day, it was just leak, something negative, something negative, something negative. It was very hard to look for the hopeful side of those stories. You read page 1 rewrite, and you don't read, oh, they're going back to make something even better than what they had before. You read, oh, it sucks, and now they have no idea what to do with it. So that's exactly the way that I look at it now. That's what I meant whenever we were talking, and I said this is a huge tonal shift, because I believe in our first video, we even said that Wonder Woman is even more important than Justice League on whether or not it's good or not, because Justice League has all the baggage of BVS. It has the baggage of Zack Snyder, who you either will love or hate as a director. It has the baggage of having to, introduce Aquaman, introduce the Flash, introduce Cyborg, introduce the villain, introduce all these things in one movie, plus bring everybody together, all this baggage. But Wonder Woman is a brand new superhero we have never seen on the big screen. It's a great director coming from Monster. All of these things that, written on paper, you're like, there is no way this thing can fail. But if they do fail with this, all that tells me is they're going to fail with anything. So the fact that Wonder Woman comes out and we are both, in it seems like 95% of the world so far, is ecstatic about how awesome this movie is, all that does, like you said, is you now look at those stories and you go, now I believe, now there's hope, now I believe that all of these stories are for the better of what's to come.
Yeah, and I like having that shift in how I'm looking at the future of the DCEU, and I said that like many times, including in our State of the DCEU original video, that Wonder Woman will be the telling of whether Warner Brothers could carry this current version of the DC heroes over, because, like you said, Justice League is carrying over a lot, and it has a huge responsibility, so one way or the other, that's going to rock or it's going to fail. But Wonder Woman, if it fails, that would show there is no future. Like, they just don't know how to tell these stories. But Wonder Woman just showed us they know how to tell these stories. They know how to hire the right people. They do know how to bring the right bunch together. And so that gives me a lot of hope that whether Justice League rocks or whether Justice League fails, I still have hope for the DCEU beyond Justice League one way or the other.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm right there with you. I'm also glad, too, that this kind of puts to bed the whole thing that you and I especially know very well that we deal with on a daily basis whenever we do a video talking about DC.
Yes.
And we always have to put disclaimers. I'm glad that this finally puts to bed the rumor and the myth that people are biased against DC films. As long as the movie is great, it doesn't matter if it's Marvel, DC, Vertigo, it doesn't matter who the hell wrote the comic. As long as it's a great movie, people will call it a great movie. There's no bias, there's no agenda against DC, and Wonder Woman proves that. So that's another small fringe benefit that you only care about if you're a YouTuber.
Oh, yes. And it's funny because, like, even when I was going live, I found myself treading lightly because I don't want to make anybody, like, angry. And then I saw Wonder Woman, I was like, holy crap. This was just it. Like, yeah, so...
Yeah.
And I'm a DC fan. I love DC, so I never had a bias against DC. I have always wanted to see them succeed. Just because I've been disappointed in some of the things they've done, it doesn't mean I hate them. I love them, and I'm just so happy Wonder Woman came out this good that it has literally shifted my perspective of even those page one rewrite stories. Like, I look at that through as the glass half full instead of half empty this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's hard to get people to understand, but it's because we are such fans of these properties. We're such fans of DC. That's why we're so passionate about why we don't like the things that we've gotten before.
Yeah.
Even the ones that we do like, but especially like when we're talking about BVS or we're talking about Suicide Squad, it's easy to kind of write those movies off if you don't really care about comics. But if you're passionate about Batman, if you're passionate about Superman, if you're passionate about what's to come in the DCEU and you see a movie come out and just fail on 3/4 of the levels, it's like, oh my God, like you get passionate about it. Why did you do this? Why did you make Lex Luthor like this? Why is Doomsday shoehorned in the end of this movie? Why is Superman dead in the second freaking movie? Like, there's all these things that you get so passionate about because you know, as a comic book fan, that you can do these things right, and they're very easy. They're just very amateur filmmaking mistakes, and that's what makes it even more frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, but now to see that they can do it right, hope is restored. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I can't even wait for their second Superman solo movie after this now. It's like, oh, yes. Yes, I'm excited. So, I don't know about you, Cody, but from our last State of the DCEU to this update, my whole perspective is different. I'm looking forward to what's to come, and I have more faith in it than I did before.
Totally agree. Yeah, I saw the movie last night, and by the time I was walking out of the theater, I was like, oh, I'm so hopeful for the future. Thank you, God, we have a good movie. So,
Thank
yeah,
you, Patty
definitely
Jenkins.
looking forward.
Thank you, Gal Gadot. Thank you, Warner Brothers and DCEU. I'm so excited.
Yes, so am I. We're all very excited, so you guys should be excited too. If you're watching this, DC, thank you.
Yes.
It's so easy. Just keep doing that. Keep doing that. What you just did. Keep doing that.
Let Man of Steel and Wonder Woman, probably more Wonder Woman, be your template, and keep doing that.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, do you have any closing thoughts before we go away this time?
Fingers are still crossed very, very hard for Justice League. I'm really hoping it comes together. I hope all the drama and all of the tragedy even that surrounds that movie is not going to prevent it from being absolutely awesome. I hope that it comes out in November, and I hope that we are doing another update to this DCEU, like we've already talked about, and we're just ecstatic about how awesome everything is. So definitely go out and see Wonder Woman if you haven't seen it. Definitely check out our respective reviews as well.
Yep, and like Cody, I'm very excited for the future here. I'm more excited for Justice League than I was before. Still a little nervous about Justice League, but hey, whatever. I got a lot of hope right now. Cody and I will probably be back to do another State of the DCEU update after Justice League. So definitely hit that subscribe button here on my channel and ring that bell so that way you're notified the moment that video drops. Then go over to Cody Leach's channel. Cody, tell us where we can find you and how to subscribe.
You can find me by searching Cody Leach, or you can just type in www.youtube.com/Cody Leach channel. And I'm also on Durbin's channel very often, and he's on my channel very often. So you'll see us back and forth a lot. Do a lot of the same things that you see on Durbania, movie reviews. I also do TV, music, and video game reviews, trailer reactions. Or if I just feel like doing something fun or goofy, I'll turn the camera on and just, move around and wiggle for you. So come over and check that out and have some fun.
I don't think I've seen that video yet of you just moving around and wiggling.
I've been editing it for 6 months. It's going to come out soon.
Okay, so it's not just the average wiggle. Got it. Okay. Well, if you want to see Cody jiggle around and wiggle for you on the camera, just make sure... That sounded horrible. Make sure you hit subscribe on his channel. Hit subscribe on my channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Like and share it. I'm Durbin. This is Cody. Thanks for checking out Durbania.